Main Street, the Great Divide. Main Street is one of the major streets in Buffalo. It is also a line of segregation, which is due to redlining. Approximately 85% of people who identify as black in Buffalo live east of Main Street.
It is depicted not only by differences in housing stock and uniform sidewalks, green spaces, and trees, but also by the street names. Jewett to the west of Main is Parkway, and Jewett to the east of Main is Avenue.
Redlining, the denial of financial services to a resident of a neighborhood based on race or income directly or by charging higher rates.
Redlining is a government-supported system based off of segregation that began as a federal policy in 1937. The government used this as a policy to keep minorities out of neighborhoods.
On this residential security map, you can see the red lines in different sections. Red lines aren't just in Buffalo, they're all over America.
The Federal Homeowners Loan Corporation made residential security maps for major American cities. These maps were graded into 4 categories, based mostly on their racial makeup. Neighborhoods with minority occupants were marked in red, hence the redlining, or in yellow. Neighborhoods with white occupants often lived in green or blue neighborhoods.
Redlining became illegal in 1968 when the government put out the Fair Housing Act.
So the Fair Housing Act, it's a federal law that was first passed in 1968. And really it was passed in response to the awful assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And as a result of all this segregation and redlining, discrimination and inequality that had been going on and continues to go on, but folks were just fed up with it. And when we lost Dr. King, the country exploded. People were understandably just had it. They were beyond frustrated, and that exploded in violence. And the country finally started saying, "Oh, this is actually a problem. We might have to do something about these issues." And not long after, the Fair Housing Act was passed.
Segregation is one of the many consequences of redlining. Buffalo Niagara is the sixth most segregated metropolitan area in the nation. Although the law made redlining illegal, it did not resolve Buffalo's segregation problems.
Segregation is not the only consequence of redlining. According to the Federal Reserve, white families today have nearly 10 times the net worth of black families and more than 8 times that of Hispanic families.
Take out a mortgage. But redlining doesn't allow for African Americans, especially in this area, to buy a house, experience home ownership, and generate equity and wealth in those houses. That will separate them from other communities where people are able to buy houses. And the thing with that is that our school system, our schools, public schools, are funded by property taxes. So the higher the property taxes, or the higher your property value is, the higher the property taxes. So the bigger and the better houses that you own, the more property taxes are going to go to your school. So your school is going to have more money, your school is going to be better, because money does a lot in schools. So if you have people who are constantly passing down very little wealth or unable to hold wealth, and their property taxes are low, so their schooling isn't going to be as good, then that creates kind of a feedback loop where like low.
Nearly 2/3 of neighborhoods deemed hazardous are inhabited by minority residents, while 91% of areas categorized as best are upper to middle income and 85% of them are mostly white. Another consequence of redlining is the continuation of redlining. Evans Bank was ordered to pay $825,000 to settle claims that it denied mortgages to African American neighborhoods on the east side of Buffalo. This didn't happen in 1937. It happened in 2015.
And make loans in other communities of comparable socioeconomic status. The only difference being race. So it is in our job in the Office of the Attorney General and working with our colleagues who are standing with us today to ensure that this sort of discriminatory practice does not go on in the state of New York. I honestly never thought I would get to bring a redlining case, or I would have to bring a redlining case, because this is a problem we thought we'd put behind us a couple of decades ago. It is really unfortunate that a bank would resort to this sort of a practice, and it is up to our office to seek to enforce the law and apply equal justice under law across the state. We will not tolerate racial discrimination in the state of New York, and we have to be very clear about that.